Hello, everyone, and welcome to Galactic Gab. I'm Tanys Coughlan from the Twillo Lifestyle Community, Twillo Lifestyle Academy, and I am joined by these two.
Hello.
We have Jennifer Jurkofsky from My Holistic Self and Dr. Lisa Thompson.
Hello.
Who is an author and a speaker and all this kind of stuff. Is it Dr. Lisa Thompson? I thought you had a different
my
website.
Your
website's different.
Dr. Lisa J. Thompson, because there are too many Lisa Thompsons out there.
Right. So there you go, folks. You heard it here. It's breaking news. No, all the info is below if you want to reach us. So we're here to talk about the galactic families.
Exciting.
Right?
Yeah.
Very cool. So we have a Schumann at 52 today. So that's nice and high. I know that's, it's sort of galactic, not really, but I was surprised when I saw that. So maybe we'll say hello to a couple of people while we figure out what we're doing. There's Kaylee. Hey, Kaylee. And then we have YT Social. Hello. All three smiles. Bring light. Thank you. And there's the third one. Awesome. So I think what we've decided is that we're going to be pulling a card from Lisa's amazing deck, Wisdom of the Galactics.
Mm-hmm.
And your book. There we go. Wisdom of the Galactics, the Oracle deck. And
we have a lot of visitors here because the dogs are losing their minds.
Oh,
they're just going wild. They're jumping up and they're trying to say hello.
All right. Well,
there's a lot of energy here, and I think they want to come through in the cards and share some messages, but just to know that there is a lot of that going.
Yeah.
So I'm going to suggest we pick one card for what we're going to talk about, but also a few cards to see what's going on with them, because I think there's something else going on.
Okay.
How does that sound? You can do whichever you want first.
Well, two cards out, very
okay.
strong, and they're actually related to each other.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, well, that was meant to be. So
we have doggy visitors. Yes.
And I think this actually fits well with what Jen and I were talking about part of the show, actually, because there are a lot of people going through stuff.
Yes.
So first card, emotional healing.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And then
Arcturians.
Master healing.
Master healing, Mantis. So it's all about healing today.
Healing today.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, that's a good topic.
Okay.
And almost all of the ones that are in your deck are healers of some kind, correct? Because there's Pleiadians, Arcturians, Mantis.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they all have their own kind of unique healing abilities, but yeah. So, okay, I'll read the emotional healing one first. Okay.
This might be the message, but we might be something we do as a topic as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We carry the energy of emotional healing. You are still holding on to some emotions that are ready to be released. They are not serving you as you move forward in your life. Release the energy blocks and then stay in the present. Do not go back to the past. Do not bring up old memories that are living in the past. Allow yourself to focus on a perfect, healthy body, a perfect, healthy emotional state, putting yourself in a place of love and joy as often as you can. From that place of love and joy, you will then create a beautiful life in all areas. It's time to let go of the old stories, the old baggage that you were holding on to. Your healing of yourself matters. It will change the dynamics in your relationships. It will change the dynamics in your job, in your business, in your financial life. By you doing this deep inner healing, it has a ripple effect out into the universe. Your healing of yourself matters.
So, it does.
Yeah. And I have a story about that from this week too, later. And then, okay. So the Okay, the mantis, master healing. So visualize your DNA as having the original full 12 strands rather than the current 2 strands. Allow our energy to activate your 12 strands. This activation gives you super psychic abilities. It allows you to remember your connection to source. It allows you to know your connection to everything in this universe, to each other, and to every living being, crystal, tree, and animal. All things that exist are connected to source. Allow your body to heal itself as it has this natural ability. Activating these 12 strands allows that healing to happen much faster. It allows you to release any stuck trauma and stuck emotions that keep that healing from occurring. Know that you can always call on us for additional healing anytime you feel your body or your emotions off kilter. All you need to do is simply ask and it will be given.
Mm-hmm. And I was seeing them doing this, which was amusing, to say the least. Yes, it's definitely needed, right?
Yeah. Well, and so if I could just share just a quick
Please.
story of my own healing this week.
Absolutely.
You know, I regularly am clearing and getting energy from me and all my beings. And I had a podcast guest on this week that he offered me a complimentary healing session. And his process is quite unique in what he does. And it was fascinating. So of course, I'm going to take him up on a complimentary session.
Of course. Yeah.
And so the story with him, just real quick, is he's a walk-in, and he actually he says 22 publicly, but it's actually 45 now of his different higher dimensional beings that have now integrated into his body. So he's only 10% of his original self. And so this has truly like opened him up to being able to see and channel this energy. So as you guys know, my husband committed suicide, right? September of 2023. And I had done, all the clearing and all the stuff to help myself heal and all the processes. And when he went in, because I'm like, he felt something still stuck in my heart. And what it was hidden trauma. So it was hidden from me. And it was related to my husband's suicide. And so what he actually saw was like this cave with these bats hanging upside down. And when he went in, he was able to like open up the cave from the top, and all the bats flew out so that he could release that stuck trauma. And so even healers need healing, and all 3 of us are healers. Yep. And there's always more layers to the onions to be peeled back when we're ready.
Absolutely.
And what that hidden trauma was doing was it was creating self-sabotage in my life, in my business, in my relationships, and actually all areas of the life. So now that the bats have been released, and I love that visual, the bats are out. So now he said, give it 3 to 5 weeks to really fully integrate and notice like the difference in how you feel and the things that are happening in your life. So that's what I wanted to share.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's great. It's never easy though, but it's, important work that we do.
It is.
That's very awesome. Well, and YT Social asked about, how do we, how to practice not to go back, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, golly.
It's a day, folks. Would you like to take that?
I thought for a moment it was just going to come crashing down. Okay, well, if that's what happens, that's what happens. But
live podcast, folks.
Practicing to not go back. This is something actually that I have been learning. I originally learned it from my spiritual teacher, Ramtha, back, in the 80s, 90s, of when you are shifting to new timelines, you have to be willing to let go of the old stories. You have to, because the more that you rehash the old stories and you stay focused back in that past and being a victim or whatever the situation might have been, then you're going to stay stuck there. So you have to be willing to allow yourself to move forward. And when you're shifting to these new timelines, what happens is you have a whole new past reality in that new timeline, especially if you do a major jump. And so, you know, we create our reality. And so focusing on what you actually want in your life, as opposed to, again, rehashing the old stuff, being willing to let go of people, places, things, times, and events so that you can create a beautiful life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Hello, Mark. He says the work you do is very important for sure, bringing awareness and helping people find their light. Absolutely. And to do that, we have to do our own work, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So do you guys have any examples of how you've been able to let go of past stories?
You mean Jen and I specifically? Yes, but I'd like to go to this first. Did you like that little, deferral? Yeah, I'm just teasing. Yeah.
Wait, I know I'm muted a lot because of the dogs. Like they're just, this is it the whole time. But I definitely do, and I've shared a few times on different shows that we've had about the ability to allow ourselves to feel our feels and to really step into what it is that we need to in order to release. Right? Sometimes we can just release and that's it, and we're good to go.
Mm-hmm.
And
sometimes we release and we don't know why we're doing it.
Right? And so, I've had experiences where I have actually felt like I've, driven through and just switched, right? Like I'm on the road and all of a sudden there's like a glitch and then I'm somewhere different and it's the same, like same place, but it's all different. Right. And I've had like just something like that where it's so out of my control that I just know that there's a shift that happens and I have to just pay attention to what's different. Right. And then there are times where, I've had to consciously let go in order to make that switch. And those times are sometimes absolutely easy and beautiful, and sometimes they are excruciatingly difficult. And I remember at one point going through a very, very difficult experience that I had to release all of my beliefs, all of my preconceptions, all of my biases, everything that I had around that situation, in order to be able to step into the next phase, the next timeline. And I remember, we've talked about this, like that, just laying on my bed, wailing, allowing myself to just have that deep guttural experience that was completely visceral, right? My whole body just shakes as I wailed through it. And then after it was all done, I got up and went, okay, I can step into this now, right? But I had to allow myself to have that process. And so I think that there's this huge spectrum of how we can do it, but that's been some of my experiences.
Definitely. Yeah, I've had similar, there's various ones over the last few years. I think one of the biggest ones that stands out for me was not this past December, but the one before. I woke up in a panic attack and I was like, I have no idea why I'm in a panic attack. And then I had this story come back from my childhood. And I was playing it in my head and I'm like, then I realized that I had never processed the emotion around it. It was very much abandonment. So I was basically alone on a subway in London at like 9 o'clock at night, and I was like 12, and I had not gotten on the train when I was supposed to get on the train because the door closed too early. And my granny had gotten on the train, and then she never came back for me. So I had to find her instead. And so it was very kind of traumatic. This is also where you have things like, I know the angels were around me at that time because I ended up going to find help at the front, like the kiosk thing at the underground. And of course it was closed because it was nighttime. And there was a phone there. And I'm like, I don't even know who to phone. Next thing I knew, I had a phone number in my head. And, I was like 12, 13. All I had was this bright light pink lipstick, right? So I found a scrap of paper on the floor and wrote down this phone number and called it. And it was actually where we were going. And so that helped. But that was me tapping into the whole, the guides were telling me what to do and all of that. But I had not processed the actual emotion. I remember getting there and just going to bed right away. And not ever really crying about the fact that I was terrified on that platform by myself in a foreign country. And so that particular time, I ended up having to sort of process that. And it was like a big theme. It was like abandonment overall. There was a whole bunch of stuff there that I ended up processing around abandonment. And so that was almost a week. That one. It was lengthy, but it felt much better after. And I have to say, I felt really light for a long time. I'm lighter than I was. Like it was an up leveling in shifting my energy forward. So sometimes we go through those and it's all happening for us. But I'll tell you, at the time, it did not feel like it was happening for me. But you work your way through these things, right? We have to do those kind of healings. And like we talk about self-care a lot. And what do we do for our own self-care? Because we all have to do our own self-care too, right? So, Jen and I do a lot of healing work on each other, and we have other people in our lives as well that we do healing work with. And then, so community is key, right? Doing healing shares. And then we have what's called a harmonic egg here. And so it's really cool. You go in and it's like specific frequencies and all of this. And you're in like an isolation sort of room, and it's all, well, the room is an egg. And so you're in this thing and there's a sound. Anyway, you try these new things, right? To see, it's great, by the way. But it's those things that we do to heal ourselves and work through those things, because we all have it. Everyone does, right? We've all got things that we need to process through. And we've all talked about it being a spiral, right? So like the whole thing about abandonment, and it's kind of connected to rejection, but it's a little nuanced. So I had another little thing about rejection this year. So it's like, it's that spiral like we talk about, and it's all, family, old family stuff. But
yeah, I totally resonate with the abandonment. That's one of my
cores. Yeah.
Things working through.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of my clients have the abandonment thing and all of that. So it's common.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So we have a few things here. Hello, Nalani. Welcome. YT Social. Oh, you did that already? Okay. Good. Nalani, I'm sorry. If it triggered a memory. I don't know whether it's a good one or a bad one, but I'm sending you love and light either way.
And even if it is a difficult one, that's not necessarily bad, right? It just means
True.
that we're opening to another path that we can explore and release.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes.
Because we are here to reveal, to heal. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And that's what it is, right? We bring it forward. Oh, it's good. Oh, good. I'm glad. And she's processing. Sending you lots of light. Very good.
Definitely.
And hello, Patricia. Welcome. And Kaylee says, working through these things too helps us relate to those we heal. Also, we can speak to it because we've experienced it. Proof that we're human. Yeah.
For sure.
Definitely. I mean, we talk a lot about the, heal the healer. We all have to have gone through experiences to really understand what it's like. I think many healers have had difficult lives in the beginning, or ones that were richly experienced, is what I'm hearing. Okay.
Richly.
Okay. So we have these rich experiences in our youth so that we can, do our own healing on them and then move forward. So.
Yeah. Well, the
Hi,
other
Brenda.
thing with the timeline stuff, as you were sharing, Tanys, that was coming up for me. And you guys can tell me if that is something you've experienced before or not. But I have very specific memories of points in my life where I've had a choice to continue or to not continue. I wanted to step into a particular timeline or a different one, and having it very, very clear that I had a choice of which timeline to move into. Experiences where, I could have ended up paralyzed. I could have ended up killed, and somebody else could have stepped in if I wanted to leave, right? Like, there have been those opportunities along the journey as well. And I think that, it does speak to, yes, we have, these soul contracts and we have things that we've signed up for and all of that, but along the way, we still get to decide how we're going to have those experiences and what that's going to look like and how that's going to all unfold. And so I think that there is an empowerment piece to that if we can recognize those spots along the way where we've had the opportunity to kind of choose, okay, I'm going to take this reality right now.
Yeah. What I can say is I used to make my choices out of major conditioning of having to come from logic and thinking it through and all that. And so, like 11 years ago when I learned my human design and being sacral, I was like, oh, okay, I have to trust my gut. And what if that thing that it's telling me to do makes no sense, right?
Exactly.
And so when I started practicing that and making my choices from my gut and not my logic, my life flowed so much easier and got so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we have the amazing ability to overthink everything and
do.
think ourselves out of what's best for us.
Oh, yeah. I stayed in long things, way longer than we're because of that.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And I can look back and say, okay, that was a choice. That was an experience. I learned from it. I grew, I evolved, I gained the wisdom.
That is true. Yeah, I wouldn't change anything. Well, I might modify a little bit, but I don't think I would change anything majorly, because really, I think it's pretty awesome being around right now in the world. And I love what I do. So I wouldn't be able to do this work if I hadn't had those experiences and gone through the healing. Not in the way that I do anyway. No.
And I think that that's part of the journey too, right? Like, it is an awesome time to be in the world. It's also a very hard time to be in the world. And we can acknowledge that there is that kind of duality in this 3D experience.
Yes.
that also doesn't mean that we have to stay in that experience. And part of the healing work is being able to transcend that part of the experience on many levels, and yet still allow ourselves to be in it, right? So that ability to move here and then bring that to what we're experiencing, right? Because we're not leaving the body unless we're done, right? But I think too that some of those really, challenging experiences and things have allowed for us also to open to understanding the greater realities in so many ways. And right. I think about it, if I had a very different life and a very different journey, I would not have been as open to certain experiences as I have been because of that. Yeah. Right. And so I think that there is a beautiful piece there too, that sometimes, with these shifting timelines, it really is, the moment that we just shift a perception, shifted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. For me, I know that I came in to have a lot of really interesting challenges in all aspects of my life so that I could come out on the other side and show people you don't have to stay stuck.
Yeah.
And even, before I went through the experiences, I didn't have very much compassion and empathy for people naturally. And in fact, I didn't like people really. They weren't safe. And so that's animals were my thing, because animals have full unconditional love and all of that. And so and I actually would judge certain people of like, how can you stay in that kind of a situation? And so then, because of contracts that I signed up for, I got to go through those experiences and understand it from like, oh, I see how people can actually stay stuck. And so then when I was able to get myself out of it, I had just so much more compassion and love and empathy for those people. And I know that's what I'm here to have and hold the space for. And so that was the mechanism for me to, in this earth life, have that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very true. And I think that's also, what propels us to do the work that we do. At least I can say that for myself, right? That having gone through the things that I went through and having to heal them in order to be able to navigate life, right, was a beautiful experience in terms of showing me, like you said, Lisa, my purpose and what it is that I am here to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Often. Or we end up back. Yes, it's true. Yeah. And Rachel feels you with the animals. She's an animal lover too. Welcome, Carla. Thanks for coming, joining us.
Well, and I pulled another card because I was held, which is the Lyran self-worth card.
Oh, very nice.
Which fits right into the conversation.
It does. Mm-hmm. Indeed. Nilani did have a question up here, actually. Is there any truth to M's and moons on the palms being signs? I'm not a palmistry girl. Are either of you? I've only looked at it a little bit. I think they're signs of having... The M thing, I think, means you're a little more intuitive, maybe. But I'm not sure. It's not my expertise, that area.
Yeah, I've had read by a couple different scientific hand analysis people. Mm-hmm. But I don't know enough about it either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've we've played around with it.
Yeah, we had a girls' weekend where we did it. But it was fun.
Yeah, I think with any of these kinds of things, right, there's there is an aspect of meaning that was gathered for it, right? And so, you know, you say M's, and I look at my palm, and I'm like, yeah, I got an M. I don't know what that means. I could look it up and see. But with any of these things, and whether it's palmistry, astrology, human design, any of those things, right? We have to be really mindful that we don't take it as a definitive, this is just how it is, because we always have the ability to navigate our reality. Yeah. And so look at them as blueprints, look at them as guideposts, look at them as things that we can use for tools to help us to navigate, to help us to understand. But if there's something there and you go, you know what, there's something about that just doesn't resonate for me, that's okay. Right? And the meanings that have been decided for these things have been decided based on all kinds of different things. It might be ancient texts. It might be somebody's, just what they got in that moment, right? And we all get, downloads, and we all get information, and it might resonate for a bunch of people, and then it might not resonate for a whole other group of people. And that is all okay. Yeah.
And the other thing to note is that the lines on your hands can actually change. So if you change big things in your life, you'll notice that your palm will change as well.
Yeah. The only thing that doesn't really change are your fingerprints.
Yep. Yeah. So that's kind of cool. She says she has them on both hands. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember when I was younger having my palm read, and they said, you're going to have one long happy marriage and you're going to have one child. I'm divorced and I have 2 kids. Clearly,
you jumped a timeline. You changed timelines. Yep.
So again, I do think that maybe there was a point in my life where that was my timeline, and at some point it no longer was.
Yep. That happens.
No, that is a really good example, though, of
it is.
The lines are not fixed. We are not fixed. Yep. We have free will. We have choice. Now, there are maybe certain people and things we came here to experience, and it might be a longer journey until we meet up with those people again. But whoever we are meant to be with, or situations we're meant to have, they're there.
Yeah. And that's the thing when it comes to any of it, right? Even we do oracle cards and all of that. And, when you're tapping into somebody for a reading, you're tapping into the energy in that moment.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that energy can't change a moment later.
Right.
Yeah. I always explain it like you go out and turn left instead of right, and you could have changed the whole reading. Right. We can change timelines like that. So then it changes everything.
Yeah. And that's one of the things for people wondering, okay, well, how do I shift timelines consciously? It's, what are you focusing on? Yeah. Where is your emotional state? What are you paying attention to? Because that creates your reality.
Yeah.
And so back to the original part of the conversation, if you're focused on your past, well, that's your reality. You're going to stay stuck in that kind of cycle.
Yeah.
But if you focus on what you actually want in your life, then you will naturally shift. It's already existing. So you shift to that frequency of reality.
Yeah. We're just tapping into the right one.
I'm focusing on a reality where my dogs just lay down and are quiet.
Good luck with that. So, do we want to talk about where focus goes, energy flows? Yes. Yes, exactly. The dog is tapping into, hey, Shem, thanks for coming.
And they have a lot to say on the topic.
Apparently. It's all
they're
good.
The ones that are often out in the yard with all the activity. So,
well, yes, which you have a lot of activity in your backyard. Indeed. Mhm. Yeah. Mark says Winnie likes to contribute as well. Winnie is his dog too. Yeah.
So sorry, you were sharing more about that switching timelines with perspective and what we focus on. I don't know if there was more there or if the
No, really,
just cut it off with the doggos.
it's really kind of that simple, but
Right.
it's not, because it's a practice, because we get in our own way.
Mm.
But like the practice is that if something comes into our mind that is the past, or something that is maybe fear-based or that we don't prefer in our lives,
Yes.
then we have the ability to flip it, reframe it,
Yeah.
and practice is start noticing where those thoughts are, so that if it comes in, you can, as quickly as you can, shift it to focus on whatever the reality is that you want to create. And
So, do the
Go ahead.
Arcturians have any thoughts on that type of
So,
thing?
I mean, yeah, that's actually what the new book is about, the channeled book, because basically all timelines are existing simultaneously at the quantum realm, even in this Earth reality. And so it was 3.5 years ago, they told me to completely stay out of the news, stay out of politics, do not put my attention there. Number one, because I wanted to be a clear channel. They wanted me to be a clear channel and not filter through polarized reality, and see things from that higher perspective. And so what was interesting is that when I did that for myself, because I did used to watch the news, and I used to be highly political and an activist, fighting for the underdog. And that keeps us in polarization, this push-pull.
Yeah.
And so when I took myself out of that and really worked on creating my own personal environment, because we only have control over ourselves.
That's right. Yeah.
Right? So when I did that, then I was able to really create my environment here at my house, cultivate my environment with my friends, like who is in my life, who do I allow my energy to be given to and spent time with.
Yeah.
And I would very quickly notice if I was like, okay, I can love you from afar, but your energy is just vibrating way too low in terms of like, I'm up here. I don't want to go down to your victim level. And it's different if I'm working with a client versus a friend, right?
It is. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
The more that over the last, again, 3.5 years that I've been creating my own environment, like my health is so much better than it used to be. My level of joy, the amount of love I can have for anyone and everyone, no matter what their opinions, ideas, expressions are. Like it really has changed my reality. And the husband that passed away, he was still really into the politics and the news, and he would try to share stuff with me. And I'm like, no, you're not allowed to. And even, the one that you guys know about, when I first met him, he was trying to tell me stuff, but then he got messages from his guides saying, stop telling her stuff and stop paying attention. So he'll look at it, but he won't focus on it. He just wants to stay informed. But even me, I'm just like, no, I'm in my happy bubble. And that's where I need to stay for myself so that I can do the work I'm doing. And so however much each individual chooses to do that, again, we have total control over our lives only. And when we create this environment for ourselves, and we do come from this higher frequency level and from love and, compassion, empathy, harmony, that actually propagates out into our communities. And then that propagates out into Earth, and we can then help change the collective consciousness.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what we all need to do in terms of, I get a lot of people asking me what their soul mission is here as a light worker. Well, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Right? Manage your own energy, keep your vibration high so that you can send that out.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
mhm.
And I know, at least where I am on the big island of Hawaii, so our island is massive compared to all the other islands. All the other islands can fit inside of our island, but our population is less than 200,000. And so really there isn't this, and we're so isolated in the middle of the Pacific Ocean that I feel very grateful that I do have an environment that I can be very bubbled, and I feel very protected.
Mhm.
Where the energy may be, on the mainland in Canada, US, or elsewhere in the world, where you have a bigger population and you're affected by the polarization of the politics and the tariffs and all the things that people are freaking out about right now.
Yeah.
It's like, even with that stuff going on, again, really holding that focus and creating, no matter the chaos going on around you or the alleged chaos, creating your own environment really does work. And that actually gets shifted into the timeline where the polarization no longer is there.
Yes.
Yeah. That's a hard one for a lot of people because we grow up being very conditioned that what we see, what we hear, what comes through our senses is reality. And it's very, very hard sometimes to switch that off and to recognize that what our mind tells us about all of those things is not always true. It's not always correct. It doesn't have to be how it is. But it takes a huge leap in the sense of trust and faith in being able to make that shift.
Yeah. Well, and back to earlier, what it does is it takes a willingness to let go of what no longer serves you.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And that could be the stuck emotions, the emotional healing. It could be the stories of the past, the name of certain people in our lives and what they did to us,
Yes. That's true.
So being willing to let that frequency be as high as possible. And the people that can't jive with that frequency will naturally leave your life. And I know that piece really, like, I talk to my clients and that scares them because they hold on so tightly, like, I can't lose that person. But how much, imagine if you were willing to let go and stay in that higher frequency, how much beauty you could have and high vibe relationship communication with all the people in your life you can have. It really does shift to some.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And by me being able to let go of stuff and even moving out of Washington, letting go of people and ideas, perceptions, here I am having this beautiful conversation with my soul sisters. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I love, that piece about really changing our thoughts, changing our perceptions, changing all of that around this because, I've had people say like, oh, you don't pay attention, like you're sticking your head in the sand, you're not doing this, you're not doing that, you're not being whatever. And it's like, no, I'm holding space so that my energy can be what it needs to be so that I have the best impact on the energy that's in the world.
Exactly. That's what our job is.
It is.
Right.
And if that's not people who are listening to us, if that's not their job, that's perfectly okay. There is
for sure.
Right or wrong time in terms of how you do this. It may be this lifetime, it may be in some other parallel lifetime. But it is a choice.
So here's something interesting. We had an interesting thing happen last Thursday. No, not yesterday, but Thursday before, you were talking about timelines and how we were, we just had it shown to us that it was really obvious that timelines are all happening at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
It was fascinating the way it all fell out. It's a big, long story, so I'm not going to get into that. We don't have time, but it was fascinating. It was fascinating to be shown that things are happening at the same time. And like, I was called into this meeting with the Federation, and they're like, yep, this is happening, and this is happening, and this is happening. They're all, and I'm like, wasn't that the other timeline? They're like, yeah, it's happening now. And I was like, I had like intellectualized that to say, yes, I get that.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was shown at that time, I like felt it. I was like, okay, this is different. So it was like a whole, my body had to recalibrate it a little bit. Right, Jen?
And I love too, because I know, Lisa, you've often said, it's parallel lives, not previous or past lives.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it very much is. And part of that experience. So again, I know we've talked a lot about the book, right?
Yeah.
Yes. The book.
I am like trying to commit to myself that it will be out by the end of April. Like I'm trying, like that's my deadline. We will see if I can.
How do we shift the timeline to?
We got to shift that timeline so that I can focus on getting that done. Yeah, and so it was really fascinating because, I remember sharing about it when the download first came in, and it all just poured through, and feeling so strongly that I was in that life, even though I'm here.
Yeah.
And then, sharing it with others and having that same experience of going like, yeah, I feel there and I feel here. And so then this incident that Tanys is talking about, this moment of, was basically them saying like, you're embodying both.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah.
And you're embodying both from two very different timelines, from two different time periods, but because they all happen simultaneously, you have both happening right now, and you have a conscious awareness of both happening right now.
I think that was the big change, was having the conscious awareness of it, and being like, I literally felt like I had one foot in this life and one foot in the book, basically. I mean, I think I had that when I was reading it, but you're kind of used to that because you kind of throw yourself into whatever you're reading, right? And that's the whole point of all of those things. Mind you, it was intense for me, but it was literally like I could feel myself as both personas in that one moment. I was like it was almost confusing as to who I was supposed to be in that one moment, because it was in with the Galactic Federation. And I do that in both lifetimes. And so I was sitting in this meeting going, I don't know who I'm supposed to be. And they're telling me this stuff and they're wanting a response. I'm like, I don't know which brain to use. That's what it was shown to me as. So it was so obvious that was what was happening. Because I really felt like in the book we're leaders. And so I felt that sort of real leadership kind of energy that I was holding. So I was holding that energy, but then also it's just me in my basement kind of energy at the same time. And so, yeah, the questions they were asking was more about the leader, but I felt like I was more it's just me in my basement. So it was a little weird, if that makes any sense to anybody. It didn't really to me until I processed it a little bit. But
well, one thing I love about what the memories of that parallel life that we are living in that time that Jen writes about so beautifully is that I have been embodying, Arcturian Uluru just more and more and more. And even just having the validation from your book of like, because I knew it was me, but then having that validation, it's like, over the last couple months and even the last few weeks, I am feeling the power of that energy really integrating into Earth, Lisa, where I am stepping in to a much bigger role as a Galactic Ambassador and a Master Healer.
Yeah.
And
I think that was the message that I received as well, was with that experience. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
You know, I think I did tell them, though, I need more of the info. You know?
But it's true as it comes in, right? As you connect to it, right? With Lisa being just that moment of, okay, this is for reals. And I'm going to allow myself to open to it and allow it to come in. And it's like, whew, full body tingles, right? It's just like, okay, this is really who I'm supposed to be. This is how I'm supposed to be. This is what I'm meant to be doing here right now. And that is incredible.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because I wasn't going to heal people. My mother wanted me to be a naturopath or a chiropractor. And I'm like, I'm going to be a zoologist. I like animals. I don't want to help people. And then now, for the last 8 years, that has been what I'm doing and what I'm here to do. And I love it. And so it's like tapping into these other parallel lives that we are. It's not about escaping this earth reality, because we are here to be, we are here to live this human life. We chose to be here at this time. And I think for us, because of that whole Orion War life, that is what is happening here on planet Earth right now with the polarity, the push-pull. And so we are embodying those energies that we were, and that's why we're all coming back together at this time.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. It's absolutely fascinating. For me, I find to be able to, like we connect and to just go, I know you. I know that energy. Right? And going, hey, and now actually having a touch point, right? Of, oh, okay, this is how, and this is really significant for me right now. And that's incredible to be able to see that and to experience that. And, we've talked before, Tanys and I, about like a lot of different past lives. And I think you guys have talked about other past lives that you've had together as well. And I know that there's multiple there for sure. And so I find it so fascinating that, as we're opening to these parallel lives and these parallel experiences, like we're given one specifically to either heal so that we can move forward and bring that healing forward, or because we need to step into that energy, right? And so, if these things are coming through for you, notice like, okay, what is it that this is being given to me for? Because there's purpose behind it all, right? Right now, it's not just oh, this is cool to know. It's like, no, there's something to be done with this.
Yeah. Well, and I think we all had a fair bit of healing to do from that lifetime, that particular, timeline, because it was somewhat traumatic, I think, for everybody involved at that time. It was I mean, we were in a war, so it was wartime. So there was a lot of that kind of energy that needs to be cleared. And I think that was part of what we are meant to do with all of this. Part of why we all came together was to do like that collective healing on the lifetime and stuff. So
yeah, definitely,
it's pretty cool.
Well, and to answer Rachel's question of Washington, D.C. or Washington State, I'm from Olympia.
go.
Mm-hmm.
And Mark was saying, as within, so without.
Mm-hmm.
Every day we are positive and negative because the percentage fluctuates, of course. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Depending what's happening in your life and how you're perceiving that. Melanie's decided that she's accepted that she's a starseed. Awesome.
Nice.
Welcome. Welcome. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And she is certified through the Pure Energy Healing Academy as a crystal healer. Awesome. Me too. Not the same academy, but crystals are awesome. And speaking of which, we have some, since it's Galactic Gab. Merlinite, a Merlinite ET. Very
Okay.
nice.
Well, I have a whole collection right here, but this is my favorite one. This is an Andara.
Ooh, nice.
Awesome.
Like my
Love
necklace.
that.
Oh, very
That's
cool.
beautiful. Beautiful.
I don't know. I think I have 20 different crystal ET heads at least.
I don't have that many. I have 4. They're all right here.
So I have 20 here, right in my office, and then in my bedroom, I have probably another 20.
That's awesome. That's the whole gang.
So maybe we need to have a show where we bring our crystal ETs.
Oh, and because we did pull the Mantis card earlier, so my friend Tony Ghazi, he is the only person that we know in the world who has commissioned different stone carvers to create Mantis crystal skulls. And he said, so I have several of those. They are incredible. But Mantis is that's part of the healing energy I channel as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My astrology says I have some background there, which is probably why they came to visit. Because I hold some of that energy, I'm sure.
Hypnicity is asking where to get those crystals.
So my friend Arene used to have a crystal shop here on the island, and she sold all these crystals. I have seen, you can get them on Etsy and other places. Yeah.
The particular, the ones with the mantis, though, are those?
Oh, so Tony, I don't know what his website is. His, he's called the Antarian Heart, and that might be his website. But Tony, Toni Ghazi, Ghazi. So if you Google him, and he has them made in all different kinds of stones.
Beautiful.
And they're so cool. And Tony himself, he channels the Mantis Collective, and yeah.
She's a mantis hybrid. Very cool. Excellent. Well, I can't believe it, but we're like,
I know,
already at the hour. Like, how did that happen? Didn't we just start?
It flew by.
I'm pretty sure we just started.
Is this from 8 to 9? I don't
know.
Or 8:30 to 9:30 rather. Golly.
Yeah. So it's been a wonderful chat with both of you and with our audience.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why I'm afraid of frogs.
What? Okay, so why would you be afraid of frogs? Let's heal that. There's nothing to be afraid of frogs.
Frogs are cute.
I think it's the mantis thing.
Like the frog.
You're joking.
Oh, right. Yes. I can see that now.
Well, but the mantis beings are like 10 to 14 feet tall. So the frogs
are
eating them.
Yes.
Quite
intimidating, actually, when you see them.
Can be. Can be.
Oh, well, this is why. Her brother teased her with them.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
so like we talked about earlier, that's a story that can be released. You can perception about that and let go of that old story.
Mhm.
Only if you want to. Your choice.
Free will.
It's not good. It's not bad. It's an experience.
Hey, Brenda. Love ya.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I guess we will be back in a month.
In a month.
In a month. Stay tuned. Don't forget to like and subscribe to all of our
Stuffs.
channels, etc. So that you know when we're coming back.
Yeah.
Yes. Guess what? We all are. We're all a work in progress.
Most definitely.
Absolutely. Final words, Lisa.
I'm just going to say, focus on the timeline you want to create. Oh, of anything that doesn't support that.
Yeah. Jen?
Yeah. I love that. You know, what keeps coming up, and as we were talking, it kept coming up for me, this idea, you know, the quote, I think it's Nelson Mandela, be the change that you want to see in the world. And let's take that a little bit further, right? Let's be the love that we want to see in the world. Let's be the joy that uplifts, right?
Yeah.
The peace that soothes, the compassion that heals. Can we focus on being the light that guides and the magic that awakens hearts, right? Because this is where transformation really comes from, when we're able to embody those qualities that we're seeking, right? So yes, be the change we want to see in the world, but just be all of those qualities that we want to see. And that is the reality that we will step into.
And we are a work in progress. So be compassionate with yourself.
Yes.
As you make these changes. And we want to thank you all for joining us tonight. Looking forward to seeing you next time on Galactic Gab. See you soon.